I think this situation absolutely requires a really futile and stupid gesture be done on somebody's part.
We're just the guys to do it.
The fun has just begun.
And welcome back to That Nerd Show. I'm Marcus Blake, one of your hosts, and with me as always is Brendan.
Was there just a glitch in the Matrix?
Yeah. Apparently, either the Matrix or Skynet is acting up early with our intro song.
Well, no, that was when it, like, deja vu. It, like, flips back on the opening. That was definitely a glitch in the Matrix.
And we do have that from time to time. This is a nerd show. So, Neo, if you're out there, can you correct these mistakes? And with us today is, for the first time on our show, our social media director, guest host, Whitney Moore.
Hello. I guess.
Hey, Whitney.
Maybe it was my presence that messed everything up today.
No. Skynet just hates us because they know that we're about to bash the Terminator movies in part of our news rundown. Because, it will happen. But with that said, like I said, we do have a lot of nerd news to talk about before we get to talking about X-Files. But if you saw the title of our show, then you know that the truth is still out there, and it was time for us to do an X-Files show. We've been waiting to do one for quite a while, ever since it was announced that X-Files was coming back. And we thought a few hours before the premiere, it would be a great time to go back into the X-Files and talk about why we love it. From the alien mythology to the Monster of the Week episodes to surprise guests that you probably didn't realize did an X-Files episode. But before we do that, it is time for Nerd News. And we're going to start off with, Star Wars Episode 8. It was announced this week that it will be delayed 7 months in its release, and it will be coming out December 15th, 2017. There's a lot of rumors floating around about what happened. The main story that is coming out is with the popularity of the new characters, they wanted to take another crack at the script and really, add more background to their stories and stuff. Principal photography was supposed to have started in September of last year, and while they did already shoot some scenes on Skellig Island with Mark Hamill, more production will and footage being shot will start in February or start next month. So anyway, it looks like Disney, I guess, is going to start setting a trend that they're not going to be doing May releases anymore, that Star Wars is now a Christmas movie. And personally, I have no problem with this. So what do you guys think?
I think it's more about the fact that it was the largest December opening in history in a month that's typically a terrible month for movies and for revenue, and so I think they realize they have a December gold mine for the next 5 years, and they're going to mine that gold mine. It also frees up the May month for other releases because you've already got Marvel movies coming out in those months, and then they just moved Pirates of the Caribbean's next installment to May to the spot that Star Wars Episode 8 would have taken. So I think it's more a business decision than it is about rewriting the script, but that's just my opinion.
Well, it could be a combination of both things. I don't think it hurts to, go back and look at the script and, make sure now that you've kind of had nerd rage with Star Wars and heard all the complaints, to make sure that they really, that they get everything right.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to do all that. I just think that that's an effect of the business decision, not the cause for the decision itself.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm going to miss seeing a Star Wars movie in May, but there's another side of this that with Disney taking over, maybe it should always be a Christmas movie. Maybe every Christmas we should expect a Star Wars movie, and that the May release really is just about. I mean, that was George Lucas. His movies in May, Disney taking over. The future of it's at Christmas, and like you said, it's a dead month. It's fun. I think it'd be great to. This is the last, big movie of the year, especially for that nerd show. And then you go into the holidays and stuff like that. So, but it's sad that we will have to wait 7 more months for episode 8. Oh well. But there's plenty of comic book movies to tide us over and stuff. So
and
anyway,
we still get Rogue One this December. So
absolutely. Also, speaking of Star Wars, as of this weekend, it has reached 1.94 billion. So it has overtaken Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. So it is officially the second highest grossing movie of all time. And it still has about 800 million to go before it, catches up to Avatar. So, but, for everybody that's the naysayers out there, whether it really can or cannot do it, keep in mind that Avatar got as much money because they did a second release of it later that summer, in the summer of 2010. So maybe there'll be some kind of special edition or whatever that'll do it. And personally, I'd love to see Star Wars overtake Avatar. I don't think James Cameron needs 2 movies, 2 of the top all-time grossing movies, especially when one of them really, really sucks. And I'm talking to all my ex-girlfriends out there that ever made me try to go to, see Titanic.
My Lord.
Yeah, this is one of my rules. I'm not saying it should be a rule for everybody, even though it should be. But if a girl out there makes you go watch Titanic, that automatically should get you laid. And I'm saying it on this show.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
As a girl, I'm saying that. If a guy makes me watch Titanic, I should absolutely get laid because it's awful.
Right.
I remember I had the VHS set, and it was 2 VHSs, and it was awful.
But
Whitney, sit through all that.
That begs another question, though. If the guy makes you watch Titanic, is he really someone you want to sleep with?
Probably not. I think that begs the question what kind of men I'm dating at that point.
I think some reevaluation and introspection. That's definitely the order of the day if that's the case. Yeah.
That's right.
Some self-reflection.
Now, I mean, there is one great scene in Titanic, and it is Kate Winslet being nude. But other than that, I don't really need to see anything else. We know what happened.
I fell asleep before that happened, so I missed it.
Right. The documentary explains everything about Titanic. So, also, in regards to talking about James Cameron and Avatar, apparently they have also changed the date of Avatar 2 coming out. It is not going to be December of 2017. They are actually pushing it to like May of 2018 or something. And they were denying that it had nothing to do with going up against Star Wars. And we call bullshit on that.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
I think James Cameron just didn't want nobody going to see his movie because Star Wars is more important.
Star Wars is 100% more important. I don't even know that I would go see it without anything coming up against it. I see how the first movie was beautiful. I completely respect the technology that went into it. I thought the storyline was just meh. You
mean because it was Fern Gully or Dances with Wolves?
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it was.
It was.
And you know what?
It was just white people taking something they shouldn't be taking.
Exactly.
Time and time again.
Actually, if you really want to make a great Avatar 2 and really be allegorical and everything, whatever the blue people are, they set up a casino, and then they call the white people just to really add injury to insult.
Welcome to Custer's, the casino that cares. This is my wife. Sits with a full house.
Oh. Yeah, I still don't understand why we need a sequel to Avatar, but okay. And, while the motion capture technology is great, it was a lot better served in Tron Legacy. That was a perfect movie for the motion capture. not Avatar.
It's so sad we're not getting a Tron sequel.
Well, come on, Disney. Pull your head out of your ass. Anyway, Fox has ordered a Exorcist TV series pilot. So, you know, as if a few movies about exorcisms weren't enough, Fox has decided to, make a TV series about it. And I'm sure that one will, be shown in order and actually be a hit, even though it's going to suck.
Yeah, I really have no desire to see that.
I don't
I think they've said enough with the several sequels that came after the Exorcist movie. I'm good.
Right. I mean, I think the first movie was pretty good. The prequel with I can never pronounce his name. Skarsgård. Dad.
Yes, Stellan Skarsgård.
Thank you. It wasn't a bad movie at all. Hell, the Exorcism movie called The Grreat with Anthony Hopkins wasn't, a bad movie either. But I think we get the gist of Exorcism. Do we really need a week?
First of all, how is this story going to work out? Is it going to be like one exorcism played over 22 episodes? Because that's going to get old fast. And
right.
How many? And if it's more than one exorcism, how many fucking demons are running around?
Right.
I mean, are we straying into like crazy show? Because then, we already have that. It's called Supernatural. So
right. That's what I was about to say.
I mean, I just don't see where they're going with this.
But we do have a suggestion for Fox. If you're really hard pressed to, do a movie about exorcisms and stuff like that, hey, there's a TV series from NBC called Constantine that you could revive and bring everybody back. Just a suggestion, and it's a pretty good one. Just saying. I mean, am I wrong? I don't think I am. Anyway, and of course, they are rebooting the Labyrinth movie. We were actually talking about that last night.
Can I say too soon?
Yeah, I was like, I think they announced it this week after David Bowie died because they didn't want to be the cause to kill him, personally.
And if we're being perfectly honest, going back and watching it as an adult, it's actually not an amazing movie. David Bowie is fabulous in it. He is
right.
David Bowie, but the rest of it, it's like, look at what Jim Henson Company can do, and that's about it. Everything else, it's the acting's not that great. The songs are, for the most part, pretty good. It's David Bowie. But I think it just needs to stay as is and be a David Bowie movie, because who are they going to get to play the Goblin King that's going to be that spectacular and just amazing?
I look at Labyrinth as a really good hour-and-a-half music video for David Bowie. That's really what it is. But it's an amazing film because of the Jim Henson, Creature Shop. And Brendan said it last night as we were talking. If you don't bring them back to do this reboot and make it all CGI, then, there's no hope for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, well. So, yes, that's happening. For everybody that's, completely upset about that, then, it is actually happening. All right, so there's been some controversy about Ezra Miller as being Barry Allen in the Justice League movies coming up, but one of his biggest offenders is actually Grant Gustin, who, plays the Flash on the TV series, which, I'm sure that's just a good, PR move, but I would honestly say that I think Grant Gustin would probably be a better Flash. We are used to him by now, and if you're gonna have him, then, bring him into this world.
I don't know anything about Ezra Miller because I haven't seen him in anything at all. But I'm looking at it this way: since they've introduced the multiverse on Flash and Arrow, I just look at it as the cinematic universe is a different version of Earth. It's Earth 3 or whatever, because it's just there's no other way to do it. It's dumb. I didn't like the way they did it. I thought Marvel's done a much better job integrating their television and film, even if it's only tangentially so, like on Daredevil, where they refer to, the events of the Avengers as the event. But I mean, they talk about people with hammers and shields and whatnot. So I don't know. I think it's just better to keep them, if they're going to be separate, keep them wholly separate. But at the same time, DC, if you're going to keep them wholly separate, then hey, we need some Batman and Superman on TV.
Right. I agree. I mean, it's you could do a lot better with incorporating characters from TV, and Marvel has absolutely done a better job with bringing both of those worlds together. I'm not saying Ezra Miller is a bad actor. I really did enjoy him in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I think he might actually make a pretty decent Barry Allen. But you have these great series on TV, popular characters, and I don't see why they can't be in your movies. But the DC movies right now, it's like a wait and see type thing. It's like, we're not really that excited, but we're going to go see it, and we hope that we're wrong. We want to be proven that it's going to be great. Man of Steel was not a bad movie at all, even though most of us, really love Christopher Reeve more because that's the Superman we grew up with. But all I have to say is, as much as I want to see a Justice League movie, you're not making me overly excited about it. But that's just me. So we shall see.
No, I think it's one of those hope for the best and expect the worst kind of situations.
Yeah.
And when you're coming into a DC movie, I mean, really.
Right. But actually, one kind of cool thing is for all you Walking Dead fans out there, Lauren Cohen, who plays Maggie on The Walking Dead, she is actually going to be playing Martha Wayne in a flashback scene. So, I think that's actually a good casting choice. I really do enjoy her on The Walking Dead, and she's good looking too. So there you go. We'll see what happens with that. All right, so some animation news for you, which I thought was kind of interesting and weird, but I guess with the success of the Peanuts movie to a point, Sony Pictures Animations they're basically making a Popeye animation movie, and they have landed Ratchet and the Ratchet and Clank writers, screenwriter T.J. Fixman. Who is the creative force behind in the Insomniac Games Ratchet and Clank franchise. So that's going to be done, and we're going to get a Popeye animated movie. So actually, it's been kind of a while since there's been anything done with Popeye, so I guess it's a good time to bring him back. But the real question is, are there really any Popeye fans out there?
Is there some underground cult of Popeye fans?
Yeah,
I don't know that there's a market for it. I mean, well, I guess here's the thing, though. I mean, people in our day and age are sheeple, so if they tell you that Popeye's cool again and you should go see it because we said so, because marketing,
right.
And so they'll get people to go see it. I don't know how much, but they will get some. Honestly, I don't know. I had Robin Williams do Popeye. I'm good.
Well, I don't think that the Popeye movie with Robin Williams from the early 80s is that outdated. I mean, you did actually have a good, funny cast, and it did capture, the comic strip very well.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just one of those things that, we got to recycle comic strips from the 50s and 60s and, introduce them to new audiences. So I'm not surprised that this isn't doing it, but I think it's just one of those like, oh, okay, you're doing it, but that doesn't make me overly excited. I mean, like the Peanuts movie made me excited, and it was a very good, fun movie, for all the Peanuts fans out there.
Well, and I think there's definitely still a market for it. Every Christmas, and every Halloween and every Thanksgiving, there's a Charlie Brown Christmas special. It's still very relevant. There's not a Popeye Christmas special that I'm going to sit down and watch at Christmas time. So I might see it, but I'm not going to be on pins and needles waiting for it.
Popeye Christmas special. I guess the meal would be spinach surprise.
The surprise is it's not spinach.
Ouch. All right, so this is for all you Doctor Who fans out there. We do have a little bit of interesting news. Apparently, Stephen Moffat will be stepping down as the showrunner for the series after 2017. He's doing the 11th season, and that'll be it. He's got one Christmas special in the 11th season, and he will be stepping down. Chris Chibnall, who actually did the first 2 seasons of Torchwood, will actually be taking over as the showrunner. So you still have some Doctor Who.
He's currently working with David Tennant on Broadchurch as well.
Right. So you get a very good writer who's been worked with Doctor Who, people before and has been part of that universe. I'm actually kind of excited about this. Nothing against Stephen Moffat as a writer. I've always enjoyed his stuff, but I do think it's time, and time to kind of get into, some fresh blood there. They have done some amazing things with, especially with the 12th Doctor, and have gotten some, dark storylines, but it's time. You don't need to be doing 2 shows like that. And in fact, you should be concentrating more on Sherlock. And we've been saying that for a while now. We want more Sherlock. We don't want to have to keep waiting a year just to get 3 made-for-TV movies. You should be doing more with that. But the other interesting thing that I thought it was interesting that it coincided with an interview with Peter Capaldi that this may be the next season may be his last. That after 3 years, he feels like it's time for him to move on, so that we will, get a new Doctor. So we could be getting a new showrunner and a new Doctor at the same time, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on who you get. But I think
I'm looking forward to Moffat's departure. I think he's hung on too long. I think he's burnt out, and I think they're just churning out stuff for the sake of churning it out. It needs fresh blood.
Well, you also need to have new enemies. We can't keep revisiting the same, typical Doctor Who enemies all the time. Okay, I'm not saying the storylines haven't been, good with Peter Capaldi, but yeah, it's time to get some fresh blood in there, and doing it at the same time where you may have a new Doctor. Yeah, I think that's a good way of turning it over and passing it on. And as we said before, Chris Chibnall, who has done some amazing things. Torchwood was a great series, and Broadchurch has been absolutely amazing on the BBC. So we'll see what happens with that. All righty then, moving right along. And no, we're not going to discuss the controversy of the Oscars because we don't give a shit. So somebody was asking me that if we were going to talk about that. I'm like, no, we don't care. Unless you guys actually wanted to say something, it's not all about me.
Well, go ahead, Whitney.
I was just saying, no, I mean, standing up what you believe in is great. I think it's an award show, and it's just I think they want ratings. I think it's all a big conspiracy, and I think they want ratings. I think award shows, in the past few years haven't really been a thing as much. It's not something, there's not this big, I don't know many people that still have Oscar parties and still really kind of are super into it, and I think, I don't really care. I'll be interested to know who won. If Leo finally gets his Oscar, great, and then I'm over it. That's all I care about.
Right.
The death of an internet meme.
As to the Leo point, I'm a big fan of that meme out there that says, what if Leo never wins an Oscar, and then 30 years from now somebody plays Leo in a biopic and wins an Oscar for playing Leo? That would be hilarious. But so that's just my personal opinion. But now, as far as the whole controversy, some dude on 4chan, which is hysterical, that like logic and facts came out of 4chan. That's just the irony in of itself is delicious. But this guy went back to 1995, and he found every instance of an African American actor or actress winning one of the big 4 awards, whether it be supporting actor, supporting actress, best actor, best actress. And he found that 13% or 12.5% of the awards since 1995 have gone to African Americans. African Americans represent 13% of the population. What's the problem?
I'm not very good at math, but
yeah,
I see where you're going. See where you're going.
I just think what and when other black actors come out and would say this is nonsense, like the woman who played Aunt Viv on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Come on, just get over yourself. If you don't want to go, just say I'm not going to go. It's the fact that we boycott everything and we're offended by everything. Just get over yourselves.
Well, 2015 was the year of being offended by everything.
Oh God, yeah. And it's funny because the movie PCU, which has turned out to be so bloody prophetic, it was a sophomoric. At the time it was looked at as a sophomoric,
right,
cheap knockoff of Animal House, but it really wasn't. It was actually pointing to what our society is becoming. It was a very prophetic film, and it was made 20 years ago. And here we are in 2015, and everything offends us, and we boycott everything, and we protest everything. I mean, at the end of the film, it ends with "We're not going to protest." They're protesting, not protesting. I mean, it's it's just like, oh my God, So it's just what our society has become. It's like PCU and freaking Idiocracy got together and had an ugly love child, and that's 2015.
and I think there's so many more things to be offended by, quote unquote, than an award show. That it's voted on by, that's just what it is. It's voted on by a bunch of old white men. It's what it's always been. That's what Hollywood is right now. And,
right.
It's kind of like, okay, that's the territory, but that's the business you chose to be in. You understood it when you went into it. And, I agree, everybody should be equal, but that's just what it is today. In 5 minutes, we'll be offended about something else. So I don't think it's a neat point.
Well, I still don't give the Oscars that much credibility, since 1998 when, Saving Private Ryan lost Best Picture to Shakespeare in Love. And I'm like, the first 24 minutes of Saving Private Ryan as a short film could have beaten Shakespeare in Love. So it's like, you don't really care. And you know what? And I'm going to be a little offensive just for the moment about the Oscars. I'm going to say this. There are certain movies out that are guaranteed to win. 12 Years a Slave. I'm sorry. That one was really being PC and saying, yeah, we've got this great slavery film. We haven't had a slavery film really, like this. It's been a while since we've had something that touched on slavery this bad. And it was kind of an obvious choice that would win. I'm not knocking the film as an incredible film, but it's a film you're only going to watch once in your life. And you didn't even really need to watch the film to know that slavery was bad,
Oh, yeah.
Schindler's List in 1993. Great film.
Yeah.
But that was an obvious choice to win Best Picture.
I will say this, though. Idris Elba did get screwed. He should have at least been nominated for Beast of No Nation.
Right.
So he did get shafted. They should have. And I'm not talking about the color aspect. I'm just talking about the dude's a great actor, does a good job, should have been recognized with at least a nomination. I don't know if he should have won. I didn't see all the performances, but I thought he should have at least been nominated.
Well, he should actually just win. I would actually take him winning a Best Picture more than Leo in The Revenant. Not that The Revenant isn't a good movie. Okay, it's the best one that he's done. But, Idris Elba was pretty much spot on as Nelson Mandela. And I'm like, come on. It's not really apples and oranges here. It's kind of obvious. At least I think so.
Right.
But, it's the Oscars. They love to have controversy. All right. So we do want to tell you that in case you were still interested in the Mummy movie with Tom Cruise, yes, that's not a punchline. That is actually happening.
I'd forgotten about that. Damn it! Why'd you bring it back up?
Well, we do have to announce that it's unlike other movies. It's moving to June of 2017 because it doesn't want to compete with another Tom Cruise movie called Jack Reacher 2. No Looking Back.
Good night.
So I have a question, and I want to say this about what if Tom Cruise won an Oscar as Jack Reacher, would that be insulting the African American populace?
Yeah, seriously, like we talk about we talk all the time about taking existing characters in the comic book universe and changing their race to be PC. Well, why isn't nobody pissed off about Jack Reacher? I mean, he's a 6'5" black guy in the books, and they turned him into Tom Cruise, who at his best is 5'7" and lifts.
Right.
And
I mean, if you're looking for a 6'5" black guy to play Jack Reacher, Tony Todd.
Or,
That's pretty much
even if you don't
your
do the
guy
6'5",
right there.
Even if you don't do 6'5", even if you just want a physically imposing black actor to play a physically imposing black character, once again, how about Idris Elba? He would have been amazing as Jack Reacher.
Absolutely.
No, they got Tom Scientology Cruise. Oh goody. Maybe for the premiere they can get a projector and show the movie on his teeth.
Well, we will do a review on the Mummy movie when it comes out in 2017. But I can pretty much guarantee that the Brendan Fraser version of the Mummy will probably be better.
Yeah, and I didn't think we needed any of the sequels to The Mummy. I thought the first one was a good, fun, standalone movie.
Right.
Should have just left it there. But no, we keep going back to that well, and it's dry, folks. Hell, the movie's set in the desert. That should be a fucking clue.
Right. Okay, so here's interesting for all of you Pee Wee Herman fans out there. There is a big holiday teaser trailer, and I guess he's coming back with a new movie, Pee Wee's next movie adventure, and it debuts on Netflix March 18th. So there you go. That one we'll probably do a quick review on, because I mean, Pee Wee Herman was a lot of fun when we were kids. It might only be fun now, smoking pot, but still, the Pee Wee Herman movies were actually pretty fun back in the day. And who doesn't love Lawrence Fishburne as Cowboy Bob? Was that his name?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's Cowboy Bob.
Yeah. What are those weird gigs that Lawrence Fishburne did in between everything else that nobody remembers? So, anyway.
Is that Lawrence Fishburne? What is he doing?
And speaking of 2017, we're already thinking of next year. The Wonder Woman movie and Justice League movie will both be coming out. They did actually confirm this week the dates. The Wonder Woman movie will be on June 23rd, and Justice League Part 1 will be coming out in November 17th. So we'll get to do Justice League basically a month before Episode 8. So there you go. And one more quick thing. For everybody that was wondering what was going on with the Terminator movies, because they were supposed to be doing a couple more sequels to Terminator Genesis, that's not happening anymore. That has officially been pulled from the schedule, and nothing is going into production or in development. Basically what it comes down to is following poor box office, reviews and the audience response that, as I like that, this is one blogger put it, amounted to a shrug. Paramount had pulled the planned Terminator Genesis sequel off its calendar, and in its place is the upcoming Baywatch movie, which, if you think about it, will probably actually be a lot better than a Terminator sequel. I'm not saying that a Baywatch movie is a good idea, but they do have The Rock in the Baywatch movie, and that alone, we will at least see it once.
I just don't get it. I mean, why, Dwayne? Why? Couldn't you have left that crap in the 90s?
Well, true, but we have to make movies off great TV series. like the Dukes of Hazzard or the Miami Vice movie. Well, the Miami Vice movie I actually really enjoyed because it was done by Michael Mann. The Dukes of Hazzard movie was completely unnecessary, even though Willie Nelson was, you know.
I was about to say that was the best redeeming part. He was Uncle Jesse, right? No, that's Full House.
No, Uncle Jesse. Wait, is that his name?
Yeah.
See, we don't even know anything about Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
I think it is Uncle Jesse. Yes. If we're wrong about that and we're insulting our Dukes of Hazzard fans out there, sorry, but you know, that's Hollywood. We do a reverse. If it's a great movie, let's make a TV series over it, even though it's completely unnecessary. Like Minority Report. If you know it's a great TV series, by God, we're going to reboot it as a movie. So, but here's the thing I do have for the Baywatch movie: you've got to have the '90s theme song. I'm sorry, if you have a different song other than that '90s theme song, we'll be there. You know, I'm sorry, it's just not going to be a good movie without that cheesy '90s theme song. Anyway, getting back to Terminator, and this is our last news item about movies and TV. Is anybody surprised by this?
What, the Terminator? No. And like I said after the movie, I said this should probably be the last one.
Was entertaining, but yeah, there is no reason to alter the timeline or make another one or do anything like that. No. If you want to do something good with Terminator, make a TV series. Because actually the...
Oh, wait, we already did. Fox canceled it, like everything else.
Well...
Poor Summer Glau.
I know. She just can't make it on a TV series that's going to last like more than 14 episodes.
She's like the anti-Sean Bean. Like, Sean Bean takes a role in order to die. Summer Glau takes a role and the show dies. I feel so bad for her because she's actually very talented. She's a good actress. I like her a lot. But every time she gets on a show, it's like, canceled.
Well, or they just write her character off. I mean, you know, she did last a while on Arrow, but she did, you know, have to go. So, anyway, that's movie and TV news. Is there any quick gaming news? Probably really isn't. Right?
No,
I mean,
it's kind of a quiet time right now because this is the after Christmas stuff.
Right.
Gaming news will start ramping up in March as they start releasing games again. And
well, I think the next big game that we will be reviewing is Tom Clancy's The Division.
Yeah, that's in March. That's a March release.
Yeah.
And so I guess The Witcher is now free. You can get that for free, so that's kind of cool, The Witcher 2. So if you haven't played that, you can jump in and get. I don't know if that's going to be a Steam special. I'd have to look into that and post it. I've just seen a quick headline here that it's free, but I don't know if it's a Steam special or if it's a Xbox, PlayStation Store type thing, or if it's all free. So.
Right.
That and there's a new trailer or TV spot for the Warcraft movie. So that which actually looks fairly decent. I'm kind of looking forward to that. So I hope it's a first really decent video game movie, either Warcraft or Assassin's Creed. They have to make one of them good because we're not going to get a decent video game movie if they fuck up those two properties. So,
well, they didn't do a bad job with the first Hitman movie. I mean, it was okay, and the second one, even though it was really just an action movie, and there wasn't really any point to make it. It was like, great, I saw a great action movie, and thank God I didn't pay for it. But you're right. I mean, I don't know why we can't make a really great movie based off a game. So, but Warcraft. I mean, it looks very promising.
Yeah, and it's got a great cast too. I mean, you got Travis Fimmel and Ben Foster, Dominic Cooper, Clancy Brown. So there's some really good people in it. So hopefully it
I think Travis Fimmel just did it so he didn't actually have to change his look from the Vikings TV series.
Maybe. Probably filmed one, gone straight to the other, filmed the other.
Right.
Hold on, I gotta switch accents for this scene. Hold on.
Right. And you wonder, how many times did they remind him that this is not the Vikings TV series? They're doing it in the wrong accent. But yeah, it's an exciting year. Our next big movie will be coming out in a few weeks. The Deadpool movie. We're very excited about that. Brendan and I are. Yeah.
I love the viral marketing for this movie because they've made it look like some of the stuff. They've made it look like a Nicholas Sparks movie. Two white people almost kissing. And,
yes, I keep seeing that as well.
People are getting fooled by it. Like there's somebody put up a text between him and his girlfriend. It was a screen cap on Facebook, and it was like, "Hey, why don't we go see this on Valentine's Day?" And she's like, "Oh, that looks so sweet." It says "True love never dies" and all that stuff. And she's like, "Yeah, let's go see that." And I'm like, "Oh, you are in the such a surprise! Oh my God."
My favorite has been there was a woman who's had this campaign to make the movie PG-13 so her 10-year-old or 9-year-old can go see it. And basically there's this letter from Deadpool that's, fuck you, we're not going to do that, and your mom's a slut. Like, I mean, that's how it ends. Because
it goes, "Hey, little Jimmy, Deadpool's a movie for adults. When you get older, you can see it. P.S. Your mom's a whore."
Right.
Right.
It was fantastic. And then when we went to see The Watchmen, we went to see it, and it was the only time I've ever seen somebody walk out of a movie if it wasn't me. And throughout the whole movie, you got, I forget the character's name, but you get the big blue guy running around with a swinging dick, just flopping in the breeze. And that didn't offend these two guys in front of us. But the moment there was a heterosexual love scene, that's a step too far. They got up and left. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to see that same reaction from like a couple in the Deadpool movie. Like, I thought this was a romantic comedy. It is. It's just more comedy and gore and action. But there is romance. He loves her. I'm waiting for that argument in the theater. It's going to be epic.
Right. And speaking of romantic movies, we will do a review on this, not this next week, but the week after. But very much looking forward to Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Because I think
the
that's
book was
going to be
fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a way to improve Pride and Prejudice, and there are many ways to improve it, but this is by far the best.
Don't tell that to my wife. Don't ever mention that in front of Aaron Marcus unless you want to lose an eye.
Oh.
I mean, I love Pride and Prejudice, the book. It's an amazing book to me. It's a classic. I think it's one of those coming-of-age tales that most girls read and fall in love with it. But Pride and Prejudice and Zombies was amazing. Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters. I hope if they do this one right, I hope they do Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters. I think the series is really fun, and I think it's fun, and I think it's going to be a really cool movie. It looks awesome, even if it's just, chicks in Victorian age dresses and
I'm also
zombies.
looking forward to the movie, and that story because it'll be the first time that Elizabeth Bennet is not the antagonist, which is my personal opinion in the actual story of Pride and Prejudice. But I know women hate me for saying that. Oh well. Anyway.
I mean, that's okay.
Okay. So we have a couple of reviews for you. You can go on our website later tonight and everything and check out some of our movie reviews. We'll have the Fifth Wave movie review up and, of course, Anastasia and the Mojave movie review was posted this past week, which, according to our one of our new bloggers, Craig Jackson, nobody should see it. It actually got rated a 4. So I was going to watch it, but apparently I don't have to waste my time. So we tell it like it is, despite the fact that it has a really good cast. But just because it has a really good cast doesn't mean it's always a good movie. It does happen. But all this week it's TV reviews before we get to everything else. First, we're going to talk about Legends of Tomorrow. Great opening, episode. I did, in a lot of ways, it made me feel like I was in a Doctor Who episode, which I'm okay with. But I thought everybody was fantastic in it, and I really love Wentworth and Dominic. What's
Purcell.
his name? Yeah, Purcell.
Dominic Purcell. Yeah, he got
Right.
a chance to do a lot more than he has on Arrow and Flash. And Arrow
Right.
and Flash, he's been really comic-y and over the top.
Right.
But he got to be a little bit more grounded. I mean, the line about his mom listening to Captain and Tennille a lot.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it made for a much better. He was much better in this.
Right. You know, I think this series is going to be great. I mean, if I have to rate this episode, I give it a 9 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Laughed. I love the actor who played Rory and Doctor Who and him.
Arthur Dowdle.
Being in right. So, and you have the right mix of just quirky characters, kind of traveling throughout time. So it kind of gives you this, Firefly-esque thing, but with superheroes. And you know what? Brendan Routh has gotten so much flack about, Superman Returns, even though he was actually a fairly decent Superman. I'm glad to see him do more and more in comic books, okay? And he's funny as Ray. He is absolutely hilarious. I love his nerdiness and just how he plays off everything. So, like I said, great episode. I personally give it a 9 out of 10. So, I mean, is there anybody that's really going to complain about this episode?
No.
I mean, we'll listen to you.
I think the only possible weak link, and I don't know. Sometimes the people who cast the villains for the Arrow Flash verse, I don't think do a great job. They did a wonderful job with Deathstroke. They did a wonderful job with Reverse Flash.
Right.
And by the way, I'm glad they're bringing him back, albeit a different incarnation, but still good. I just think sometimes they miss, and they missed with the guy Matt Nable, who played Ra's al Ghul, and I think I'm not positive yet, but I'm pretty sure they've missed on Vandal Savage too. I'm not sure this guy's up to the task, but we'll see.
Well, we're going to have to play this out a little bit more, but I mean, talking about an opening episode, it was fun. Everybody, again.
I'm also putting in the episodes, the back-to-back episode from Arrow and Flash from December of last year. So I haven't seen enough of them yet, but what I have seen, I haven't been overly impressed. So we'll see how it plays out.
Right. But it was, like I said, very good, and glad to have it back. Colony is a show that we're going to keep a watch on. I love James Hollowell, from Lost. He, one of the shining moment of that series, and it sucks that he hasn't really had a great series that has lasted, because he's a very, very wonderful actor. I mean, he honestly should do more westerns and would be perfect for that. But anyway, after the first couple of episodes of Colony, I can say I'm intrigued. But
I would have to agree. I'm not fully invested, but I'm intrigued. I definitely keep watching and interested where the story goes. I've always been a big fan of like this utopian kind of futuristic anything. So I'm interested to see where this goes. I've liked it so far.
I think it's a good example of it's a series that it's a series that probably should be streamed and let you binge watch 13 episodes to really
Agreed.
get this full story. We're not actually going to do a review on it, except mentioning it today until the end of the first series to really digest what it is. To answer the question, is it worth watching all of their episodes? And two, should it get a second season? It shows some promise. But, and you're right, dystopian worlds, there's a lot of great things that you can do with that. Sometimes shows have gotten a little too ridiculous. You've had some very underrated shows. But we will see where this goes. That's how I can put it right now. I feel the same way about like The Expanse on the Sci-Fi Channel. I've enjoyed it so far, but I feel like it's a show that has to be binge watched, and one that I don't have to watch week to week. But it's interesting enough for what it is, and it's a good role for Thomas Jane. So, but in a couple of months, we'll do a review on The Colony and tell you whether it's worth watching. So, the final review before we get to the rest of our stuff, before the X-Files part of our show. Black Sails came back this week, and Black Sails basically is it's basically replacing Spartacus, but putting it with pirates. So of course there's lots of violence, blood, and sex, and all that. But the great part about the story is the old school, and this is where what Brendan should really love. And we talk about this all the time because Master and Commander with Russell Crowe is one of our favorite movies. The old school naval, tactics and everything, and how they really do talk about it with sailboats and stuff. The first two seasons were gritty, and it really ended on a high note at the end of season 2. And I won't completely give it away for those that haven't seen it yet. But the first episode, it was great, and stuff. But the whole show really, it only had two big shining moments. Toby Stevens is, Captain Flint, which he's been fantastic since day one, and the introduction of Blackbeard, which is played by Ray Stevenson, and that I think is a perfect casting choice. So it was great to bring everybody back, but I'm immediately like, okay, well, now I want the next 5 episodes, because you keep teasing me with all this stuff about what's about to happen. And if you've read Treasure Island or know any of the story about what happened with Nassau, or New Providence is what it was called back then, and what happened with all these pirates, once they, got the gold and stuff, like I said, it was a great introductory episode, but it just left me wanting more. I think because Black Sails is so fun to binge watch. So, I would give it an 8 out of 10. Just for the introduction and stuff, and it was great to kind of see Luke Arnold as John Silver as he's walking around on his peg leg now and stuff. But Toby Stevens is the shining. Shines in this episode more than anything else as a fierce pirate who, is probably the best sailor because he did come from the Royal Navy and stuff. And Black Sails really, as a series, it's so much more fun to kind of watch him because even though he's a pirate and he's trying to do good and he hasn't completely become a savage, he is a brilliant sailor. So they really talk about his tactics and how he is better than everybody, So anyway, we'll can't wait for the end of season 3 and to be able to talk more about Black Sails. So that's it. All right. We'll get to this week's Sign of the Apocalypse here in a minute, but we do want to mention we have lost some heavyweights the past couple of weeks within the nerd universe. The first with David Bowie. Was very sad to hear him passing away, and not only is he recognized for his great music, but he has been in a lot of iconic roles within movies. One of my favorites is him playing Tesla in The Prestige, and I didn't even recognize him at first. So that was a shocker. Probably the biggest shocker was Alan Rickman more than anything else.
Oh.
Yeah. And from a nerd standpoint, we're not going to delve too much into our tribute today because next week's show will be all about Alan Rickman and why we love him and really talking about the movies that you didn't realize he was in, beyond being Professor Snape and stuff like that, but just how wonderful of an actor he was. So yeah, that was a huge shocker. On the music scene, for all of you Eagles fans out there, and I'm a diehard Eagles fan. Glenn Frey, one of the founding members, who wrote "Take It Easy" with Jackson Browne, passed away this week, and that alone pretty much signifies the complete end to the Eagles and touring and doing stuff at this point. They do a little bit here and there. and they did a big farewell tour, and we're trying to finish that up. But and they had gotten like Bernie Taupin to come back and be part of that tour. But yeah, just losing him too was kind of a shocker this week. So that nerd show, for all three of these people, our deepest condolences to their families, and special tributes in our own way to their legacies and the things that we enjoyed about them. So, but next week, again, we'll be doing an Alan Rickman show, and we're going to be looking forward to hearing everybody's about a movie that we didn't realize he was in that was that good. And yes, in case you are wondering, and we'll talk about it next week, then while It's a Wonderful Life and The Christmas Story are must-see Christmas movies, Die Hard is absolutely a must-see Christmas movie.
Yeah, I can't believe people said it wasn't a Christmas movie. I'm like, it takes place on Christmas Eve. It's got Christmas music throughout it. He tells terrorists, ho, ho, ho.
Right. So, but anyway. Okay, this week's Sign of the Apocalypse is actually a reverse. This week's Sign of the Apocalypse. There wasn't really anything bad that happened. There wasn't the obnoxious comments made by stuff. I mean, I guess we could talk about the Oscars, but we've badmouthed them enough during the news rundown. So we'd actually like to talk about something very, very cool. Yet another reason why we love John Barrowman. I don't know if everybody heard, but there was a convention up north that got canceled that him and Stephen Amell and Robbie Amell and we're all at, and they're actually scheduled to be here in Dallas in a few weeks, which we'll be there, covering their panels. But with all the blizzard and winter weather up in the Northeast, the convention got canceled. But a lot of people were staying in were snowed in their hotel, the same hotel that the celebrities were staying at. And they decided, the celebrities, led by John Barrowman, decided to come down to the lobby and basically have a makeshift convention for all the fans. And we're taking pictures and signing autographs and talking and answering questions. And then to make it even better, and yes, you have to go out and to John Barrowman's Facebook and Twitter and find the video that he posted. But they went to a restaurant, and he did a pan around of all the fans that followed them when they went to go eat. And then, of course, in typical fashion, as he's all excited talking about the fans, at the end of the video talks about how he's going to strip now. And there's plenty of people that were all excited about that. But anyway, these are why we love these people. They could sit in their hotel room and be bah humbug and all that, but they went and hung out with the fans. The people that go and see and pay money to see their stuff. Brendan has talked about years about how great the Houston cons are, and probably a lot better than the ones here in Dallas, because of the fans or the celebrities hanging out at the hotel bar. Because you've gotten hammered with Nichelle Nichols before, who apparently can bring everybody underneath the table.
That lady is amazing. She was drinking until the bar closed and was up the next morning at 10 o'clock, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, signing autographs and smiling away. I don't know how she does it. She's like 80-something years old, and she's amazing. I hope I have half her energy at her age.
Right.
I got to do shots with Kevin Nash. I've drank bourbon with Gary Graham, who plays Ambassador Sobol in Enterprise and Axanar, and also was in Alien Nation. So, I've had a lot of fun stories. I've had really long chats with J.G. Hertzler from Star Trek and with Tony Todd, who's in everything. So it's, there's Glenn Morshower's been very kind to me, as well as Marshall Teague. He's a phenomenal guy. I'll sit and talk stories with you all day long. So yeah, it's really a great time at those cons when you're given access to the people. The ones here in Dallas, they're not getting any access. They shepherd them around. They've got 50 people around them. Right. So it is. It's done better in Houston.
Well, but again, it's the ones that we really love are the ones that hang out with the fans. They know, again, who pays to go see their stuff, who keeps up with them and stuff. That's not. If you're going to be snobbish and you think you're too good for the fans, we don't really care about you. It's just simple as that. you know. But John Barrowman is just a shining example of, of a great celebrity, a nerd celebrity who basically has too much fun. Well, I don't think there really is such a thing as too much fun, but a lot of fun at these conventions. And damn the weather, they're going to hang out with the fans regardless.
He was
right,
really funny.
He
was really funny
the fact
with
that
me.
people paid and.
Yeah.
Right.
He was very funny down in Houston. When he took a picture with me, he put his hand on my chest. He says, "Is your wife going to be mad that I copped the feel?" I said, "No, she'd probably be flattered."
Well, but anyway, kudos to all of you guys for doing that, and we are looking forward to seeing you in Dallas in a few weeks. And one of our good friends actually got a tweet from Stephen Amrell about being excited to come down to Dallas. The good news is you won't be snowed in or anything like that because it's Texas, unless the apocalypse happens here. But regardless, we're still going to be there anyway.
It's supposed to be like 70 all this weekend coming up. So.
But anyway, it'll be good. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we are going to talk some X-Files. We're going to go find the truth that's still out there. So grab some water, take a bathroom break. We will be right back. Just because you have a business doesn't mean you have the roadmap to success. In fact, 80% of businesses will fail. But there is one important thing you can do to help ensure that your business is not one of them. Go Pro. For all of your printing needs, your web and graphic design, and your advertising, there is only one place to shop, the Business Pro Shop. Go Pro with your business today and start with 500 free business cards with your first order. Call 888-901-4665 to Go Pro. All right, we're back, and yes, it's time to talk about some X-Files. About 23 and a half years ago, in 1993, Brenda and I were wee freshmen in high school. And, well, actually, I take that
and
back.
I was 4.
We were sophomores. Well,
and I was
and Whitney was, very young. This great show premiered when Fox was actually Channel 9 down here and was the equivalent to the CW. I don't think anybody really expected it to be a hit, because it was all. Everybody just thought, it's just this weird show about conspiracy theories and everything, and they're searching for aliens and stuff. But then it became this global phenomenon because it wasn't all about aliens, and you had, the Monster of the Week shows where you dealt with the weird, things in life and trying to prove if they're true. And you have these two great characters, one who is willing to believe everything and is, as Scully puts it, if they gave you a shovel and say that the truth is out there, you will go and dig until you find something. And then you have the hardcore skeptic that's trying to keep him grounded and debunk what he's researching, all with the FBI, and thus was born the X-Files. Is there any nerd out there that hasn't been influenced by the X-Files in some small way, or it hasn't been a great source of entertainment at some point? Really, seriously.
When I first joined the Navy, my first command was training command in Pensacola, Florida. And when the X-Files came on, we would all gather around one of the big TVs in one of the commons room, and there'd be 20 guys watching the X-Files.
Yeah.
We'd have pizza parties, or everybody go and grab whatever fast food they wanted to eat that night or whatever, and we'd all gather around and watch the X-Files.
Well, and that wasn't uncommon, once it started really becoming popular. You would have, watching parties and stuff. But I think it's kind of interesting that, it started on this channel that wasn't really one of the mainstream channels at the time, and it's actually what led Fox to becoming a mainstream channel. It's the ratings of that show and the global phenomenon of it, that helped, put Fox on the map and stuff. And there's one interesting fact that I've always thought was kind of cool. Chris Carter had written the show as being for 5 years, and that was it. And then he was going to continue the story within movies and feature films. And they had already planned on the movie that came out in 1998 titled Fight the Future. But because it was so popular, and because people just the rumor that it might be canceled, okay, I mean, people just went apeshit over it. So therefore, Fox was like, no, we're not canceling this show. You can go, but we're not going to cancel this show, and we're going to keep it going, until we're good and ready to let it go. Now, I mean, in all fairness, it probably stayed on a season too long, but like most shows. But at the same time, you had everything from sci-fi, horror, and just all of this. And I've also found it interesting that people have have started to really truly wonder: is there an actual department at the FBI for the X-Files? Is this something real? Are there people in the federal government that research this, and deal with conspiracy theories? So I don't think there really is, but anyway. So Whitney, you're the guest. How did you become a fan of the X-Files?
Well, so obviously I was pretty young when it first came out, but I was probably around 8 or 9, and my great-grandmother, rest in peace, today's actually her birthday, but she loved the show and would record every single episode on VHS tapes. And so I would go over there sometimes to stay the night, and we would watch them together, and they terrified me to the point that I would be shaking, but I kept watching them because I was so interested, and just kind of continued to grow from that. And then they recently put the series on Netflix, and I went back and watched it, and I just realized how it was such a great show. It's so perfectly 90s and wonderful, and just all of those good things about television that I love, and just that it had the continuing storyline, but there was still storylines that were wrapped up in your episode, and it was clean and nice, but you still got your arcing storyline. And then Mulder and Scully are just, the chemistry between them is just completely undeniable. Right. David Duchovny is still amazing, and I just think that chemistry between those two characters, even before it kind of hit that, romance, was still, even as just the kind of, as you said, the believer of everything and then the skeptic of everything, was still just a very cool thing.
Well, and I think you kind of have to have that to, keep the, the one that wants to believe, keep them grounded and stuff. But Brendan, did you actually watch it when you were in high school?
Yeah, I watched it. Actually, I think it came out when I was in junior high. Its first couple of seasons.
Well, no, it came out when we were sophomores in high school.
Oh, it did? Okay, I thought I was younger than that for some reason. I'm thinking back, but anyway, I remember the first episode I ever saw, because back then we didn't have the internet, we didn't have Twitter, there wasn't comicbook.com, I wasn't getting email alerts about every possible new show, even if they don't make it to a pilot stage like Teen Titans. So sad. But so I didn't even know about it. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't watch a lot of TV when I was in high school. I played outside a lot. I was one of those kids that was out playing football, baseball, whatever.
Right.
And I just happened to cross it one day, on a rainy day, and the only thing I ever knew about Fox was they had some sports on occasion, and
right.
They had a show about Kindred the Embraced, which was about White Wolf vampires, which I really liked the gaming system. So, but I stopped because there's this show, and it had a Providence police cruiser on it, and I'm thinking to myself, Rhode Island never makes it into TV shows. What the fuck's going on here? Because I came from Providence, Rhode Island. So I stopped, and I'm like, oh, this show's kind of cool. I might keep watching this. And then I found out when it came on, and then I caught the next week and the next week, and I was watching it ever since.
Yeah,
So I just stopped because there was a Providence police cruiser on this. I was like, why is Rhode Island in the show? It's never on the show. So that's it. That's the only reason why I even knew it existed.
I admit that I didn't actually start watching it when it first came on. I can't remember why I didn't get into it and all that. But I caught reruns with my dad when I was in high school. At some point, I think it was during the third season or right before the third season. And I still remember the very first episode that I ever saw, with my dad, and it was actually from the first season. It's about the kid who thinks he can, has the power of God and can wield the plagues and stuff. And of course, everything turns out to be false. But I'm just watching this scene where there's locusts coming into a courtroom scene. And he's praising God, and it's coming out of the vet, and you're like, okay, this is interesting. And then the next episode, and I remember this, the next rerun, okay, was Tombs. It's the third episode of the first series, or the first season, about the guy that can stretch, and he's basically like a tapeworm human being, and harvests body organs and goes into hibernation every 30 years, and it was just absolutely creepy. It's what is this? What the hell? And then they start calling Fox Mulder Spooky Mulder, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't even see anything of the alien mythology. That was really what the show was centered about. It was the Monster of the Week show episodes. So that's when I got hooked and started trying to go back and watch reruns and stuff. And back then you had to, you didn't stream anything. They didn't even have really DVDs at the video store, so you had to get VHS, and you didn't even get every episode. What they would do is they would put 1 or 2 episodes on VHS, and you can go rent this. But it would be sporadic, and one would be a Monster of the Week, and one would be part of the alien mythology. So I never really got to see everything of the first, couple of seasons until I think it was after 1998 that they finally started putting everything that you could actually rent everything, or buy the collections. I mean, you could actually buy the VHS collections, and then they started actually putting them on DVD towards the end.
Thank God, by the way, for the advent of CDs and DVDs and Blu-rays, because buying a collection of 22 episodes of a season for VHS, you know how much wall space that takes up?
Right.
It's like an Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah. You're basically buying books.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
It's 23 episode season. Oh, there goes that shelf.
Right. But no, the greatness of it is, yes, he is searching for the truth about, the government's conspiracy to hide aliens. And on top of that, you get this great story that his sister is abducted and that his father is involved somehow, But
and
you know what really... Go ahead.
But the best part is this elusive villain that called the Smoking Man, who you really never get to know. And the best part about him is they learned a really great lesson. Don't tell the audience too much. You have to leave something to wonder, to question, to figure out what's going on. Storytelling today can be so ham-handed. They just shove all the information down your throat. It's no, don't tell me. Let me imagine. Let my imagination run wild. Let me talk about it. And we'll talk about it more, and especially in this day of internet and Facebook and Twitter, when people are just getting online and talking about these things and all these wonderful theories, and this is the best word-of-mouth advertising you will ever get.
Right.
So I loved that they did that with the Smoking Man. It just, he was this.
Well, you don't even find out his real name until the fourth season. The only thing you really know is he worked with Mulder's dad in some project, okay, through the State Department.
And he is some sort of higher up in this weird conspiracy hierarchy. But he reports to somebody else. You just have no idea who he reports to. And there's so much mystery around him. Just nothing with him is certain. Other than the fact that he's going to kill a pack of Marlboros in one show.
Right. How is this guy not dead of cancer?
Cancer.
They make references. He's the cancer man. So, I had somebody ask me one time why I don't give a lot of details about villains and stuff, in my 30-minute series, and I'm like, I completely stole that from the X-Files. I am not ashamed to tell you that I stole that, how to tell a story, and that's why you don't know any of these people. That's why it's, the main guy is always referred to as the old man. Okay. They have to remain a mystery, and you have to keep, getting people in little by little until you have their curiosity and they can't let go.
Well, yeah, and that's how you get people emotionally invested in the story, because their theories to them are almost as important to them as where the show goes, and to see if their theories are correct.
I will say this too that really lends to his mystery, and who he was and stuff, is the pilot episode where you deal with the alien abduction. Mulder knows everything, and they do pull this implant out of the young teenage kid who had been comatose or whatever for 4 years, and Scully doesn't want to believe anything. But they get this thing, and the very last scene of that episode is him walking in this warehouse. They're in this dark hallway, pulling out a tray, putting the implant somewhere, among all of these things that you don't know about, that's a big mystery, and walking away. And it just fades to shadow. And you're like, okay, what did we get ourselves into? And it's very reminiscent of like the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where, they're just taking the Ark in a big box into this warehouse of all these goodies, and you don't know what it is. And it's like, what else is the government hiding from us? So, I almost want to say that with the internet, yes, you're going to have people fuel their paranoia and talk shit and stuff, but I almost think the X-Files kind of lended a hand to that before as the internet was really becoming popular. That there are conspiracies out there and really getting people talking and stuff, and great storytelling all around, because it doesn't really get any better than that. And for years people just kept discussing what is really going on here. What are these people? Are aliens invading? It's just and I think the brilliance of the show was, while you did focus on the alien mythology, you didn't stretch that storyline out every week until people were numb. You had the Monsters of the Week episodes where you dealt with shapeshifters and, again, the tapeworm man and stuff like that, or an AI that comes alive, or a ghost in space, or just weird shit like you can't believe actually happened.
It's almost like they took some of the scripts from The Outer Limits.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm not saying there isn't.
Absolutely not. So I'm going to ask you, Whitney, who do you identify more with, Sculder or Mulder?
I definitely would have to say Mulder, for sure. I believe everything. First of all, in a sense of not like gullible, but in just like, I absolutely think there are aliens. I absolutely believe in the government is hiding things from us. 100%. I think it's all true. Now, do I think we'll ever find anything out? No, but I absolutely think there's like an X-Files. I think there's a place in the FBI where, that they go and they have secret files, and Area 51 is, I totally believe, is a thing.
Right. So yeah,
I'm so not skeptical. Like, I think your first day as president, they like give you this big book and they're like, here are all the things that we hide from everyone. There you go.
Here's the book of secrets.
Right, exactly.
And if you tell anybody, we'll kill you, just like Kennedy. Yeah.
Right. Right, exactly. Like Kennedy was about to reveal some real stuff, and he's gone. But no, I definitely think that it's silly to even fathom that we are the only intelligent life,
Right.
You know, it's just ridiculous and pig-headed. Now, do I think tomorrow I'm going to wake up and there's going to be aliens knocking at my door? No, but I think some people know more than they're sharing with us. But that's just my personal opinion. Maybe I'm just a crazy person.
Yeah. How about you, Brendan?
Oh, I'm definitely in the Mulder camp because remember, I had a clearance. I know people, they're hiding stuff.
Yes.
Like,
See?
we hide mundane shit from our citizens because they don't want to know about it. So, does anybody think they really, would it be a surprise if they hid big shit too? Of course not.
Right.
So yes, I definitely believe that. And as Whitney said, there's something like 500 million planets in the Milky Way galaxy alone, or something like that.
Right.
Just in our galaxy. Think about that. Now there are something like another 300 million galaxies in the universe. So I think that comes out to something like 15 quintillion possible planets.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're the only one in that haystack that has life. Sure. Now, is it
right.
that we're ever going to see them ever? Well, no, because first of all, we haven't figured out faster than light travel. Number one, and number two, let's say through the use of a ridiculously awesome, telescope, some telescope that they developed that can see across the light years. Let's say that ever happens, and they find evidence of a civilization somewhere. Well, by the time we see it, that civilization could be dead because it's 1,000 light years after we saw it. When we saw it, 1,000 light years after it happened. So, or 1,000 years because space, time, blah blah blah. Anyway, point being, it's ridiculous to think that we're the only life in the universe. I just think it's almost more probable than not that I will never see it, which sucks because I think it would be awesome. But at the same time, it is what it is.
Right.
So, but yeah, I'm definitely in the Mulder camp. Now, as of which character I like more, well, she's hot.
Let's be honest, that's right. Well, here's an interesting little fact.
She's gotten better with age too, because she looks amazing. I actually think she looks better now than when the X-Files first came out. And if you haven't seen her on the Netflix show The Fall, go do so. It's a great show.
We want that version of Scully in the X-Files. She wasn't as horny and sex craved as she was in that series, but God bless her.
Well, and I just with her natural English accent, because yes, she's an American citizen, but she was raised her formative years in England, so her normal speaking voice actually is an English accent, and her with an English accent. Mm-hmm.
One of the interesting facts is, Fox, in their infinite wisdom, they didn't like Gillian Anderson because she was relatively unknown at the time. I mean, this was her big break, and they wanted someone. I'm not kidding. This is what they said. They wanted someone leggier, blonder, with bigger breasts. And Chris Carter was like, "No, this is who we want. She has got it." And
it's
and the rest
X-Files, not Baywatch.
Right.
Exactly. We'll be there. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting back to that cheesy '90s song. Let me get back to a real cheesy '90s song. Do 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 do. And that's another thing too about the X-Files. I love the fact that you have this very kind of creepy music to it, and on the whole at the end of the little montage or credit scene, it ends with "The truth is out there," which is right on. It is out there. So I will say this:
on Foxes. We want somebody taller, blonder, leggier, with bigger breasts. No, wouldn't we all? But there's a lot of very talented. I mean, come on. I mean, that's their reasoning. Come on.
First of all, Scully has always been my favorite redhead. in the nerd universe. So, Fox, you can kiss my ass on that. And
well, it's just, I mean, there are so many beautiful women out there that are of all shapes and sizes. They don't need to all be big-breasted blondes. I mean, come on, even Marilyn Monroe wasn't a blonde. She was originally a redhead.
Right.
Yes.
Come on.
For me, I think the poster that hangs in Mulder's office says it all. I want to believe. I do. But there is as I get older, I'm so much more grounded by facts. This is why I don't engage in ridiculous arguments, like on social media and all that, because, there's no facts in the people or basis, with what people post and shit like that. And, I want science to explain it. Okay. But, but the great thing about Mulder is there's that leap of faith that he has. The unwilling, he's not religious. He's taught, to think from a scientific standpoint, to ask questions, what makes him a great profiler, but he has that leap of faith that he wants to believe, and I think we could all use that. And I think that the poster that hung in that office, it just, said it all about the show. It's the leap of faith of wanting to believe and opening your mind to everything. And, Scully, starts to be more like that throughout the series as she is using science to explain a lot more, even though she can't completely explain everything. So, one of the more interesting things is the fact that they are complete opposites in real life. David Duchovny is the skeptic on everything, but Gillian Anderson is the firm believer that believes everything. So I always thought that was kind of cool. So before we get to anything else, here's your first fact or fiction question. Getting back to William B. Davis as the smoking man. Now, it's you have a lot of Canadian actors in this show because it was primarily shot on location in Vancouver. And William B. Davis is from Canada, who his recent series that he was in part-time was Continuum. But, fact or fiction, William B. Davis, before he was the smoking man and became well known for that, was actually an acting teacher, and he was the acting teacher of Lucy Lawless. And we'll start with you, Whitney. Fact or fiction?
I'm going to go fact. I'll guess fact on that one.
How about you, Brendan?
I'm going to guess fiction just so at least one of us is right.
That there's a 50-50 shot here? Okay.
Right.
It's actually fact. He was an acting teacher, and one of his earlier, students was Lucy Lawless, who actually did premiere in the X-Files series the last season in a 2-part episode as a super soldier. And her character's name was Shannon McMahon. She served with John Doggett in the Marines before she was made into a super soldier. But yes, he was an acting teacher. So another little tidbit for all of our fans out there. All right. In regards to the alien mythology, which encompassed everything, and you really did kind of not to give spoilers to people who haven't watched the series, but they did really, they did kind of come to a closing story with that. It was all centered around kind of an alien invasion and this group working with the aliens, and it was set for December 12th, 2012. Or 22nd. Yeah, it was. Wait, is it 12/12/12 or 12/22nd?
12,
no,
12, I think.
No, it was the 12th. It was centered around the Mayan holiday or whatever. Anyway, out of all the episodes, the one that really encompassed the alien mythology, Whitney, do you have an actual favorite?
Whitney?
Did you disappear?
Did we lose Whitney?
I don't know what happened there. Well, we'll try to get Whitney back. We may be having some technical difficulties and go from there. But anyway, I'll do the question with you, Brendan. Your favorite episodes dealing with the alien mythology.
Actually, I think my favorite episodes were all with Krychek. I just thought he was a really good villain. I like the actor a lot. And so I thought he was a really good foil and kind of the yin to Mulder's yang, so to speak. He was just a more active villain. You know, the Smoky Man was kind of the guy behind the scenes, and he was kind of the upfront dude, and he was the action for the other side. And I just really enjoyed his repartee and his give and take with Mulder. I thought those were really good episodes.
Yeah, I didn't care much for him, in his first episode, which his first episode. Speaking of one of our favorites, Tony Todd. This is actually one of my all-time favorite X-Files episodes, and it was a Monster of the Week type thing. But it was the episode where all the vets didn't go to sleep. They were part of an experiment, and Tony Todd was the Bible quoting maniac killing everybody, including the doctor. And after him and Scully are separated, he gets paired with Krychek, and they have to kind of go and hunt this down. And Krychek is just like, I don't believe any of what you're talking about, even though I've been paired to watch you by the syndicate or whatever. Anyway, he just really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But then, when you start to figure out that he's really a bad guy, he grew into that. The character became so much better in later years.
Yeah.
Right up until the end. I think he just kind of had to, really establish himself as, as a villain. And somebody that, also kind of wanted to bring down these group of old men and stuff, because, there was a really great episode with Krychek where he, basically pushes the Smoking Man down the stairs, and he's like, I'm going to send you to hell, old man. And, of course, as we all know, nothing can kill the Smoking Man. He's always going to be there and stuff. But and you know what made him a really better character is, when he got his arm cut off, by the Russian villagers and everything, trying to protect him from the experiments.
Right.
I think that was kind of the turning point where he really just became this great character after that. And I liked his ending story, that he did it, it was Skinner who finally kills him for trying to screw him over. But you're right. I mean, all those episodes and everything just, really made it better. I've got so many, episodes that I just absolutely love and I can watch over and over. But the alien mythology, there's just 3 episodes that I think just go really great together. That it was kind of that turning point. And it was the last episode of the second season when the hacker gets the MJ files about the government's involvement with aliens and gives it to Mulder, and of course you got the lone gunman in there and stuff, and then Mulder ends up in another great one with the Smoking Man, ends up dying but getting resurrected by the Navajo, and you get that second episode of the third season, where he shows up at the doorstep as him and Scully and Skinner are holding each other at gunpoint, and they finally start to figure out by going to that warehouse with all the files about these groups collecting data on people, and you see the file of Mulder's sister and then Scully after her abduction and stuff like that. And you start, and then he gets that piece of the puzzle where he sees kind of the alien ship, but not a full alien ship. So I just thought that whole, to me, that was kind of that. The first 5 seasons were just phenomenal. I mean, it started tailing off after that. After the movie. Not to say that there weren't great episodes. It's just it was not as good of writing.
Yeah.
But yeah, those 3 episodes are my favorites over and over and over, and you got to see Scully kind of be a badass and everything. 'Cause she wasn't really that much of a badass. She just kind of followed Mulder around and tried to keep him grounded, and every once in a while pulled out her gun, and she looked like she didn't even know how to handle a gun.
Yeah, she really didn't at the beginning.
No.
You could tell she was not recruited into the FBI for her prowess with firearms.
No.
She had other talents that they desired.
Right. So, and of course, it's also the one dealing with Scully's sister who ends up, getting shot and everything. Those were absolutely good. Okay. Whitney, did we lose you there for a little while?
You did. I'm so sorry. My phone just decided to spout out on me. I apologize.
Yeah, well, that's what happened.
I'm telling you.
We talked bad about Terminator, and Skynet, tried to control it.
Well,
Exactly.
Marcus, while you ask Whitney that question, I'm going to actually step away for a minute because I've got to take care of something here. I'll be right back.
Brendan's going to take his break. Okay, Whitney, in dealing with the alien mythology, what are your favorite episodes?
Dealing with the alien mythology. There was, I'm trying to remember the name of the episode, but I liked all the ones spanning about the colonists and the purity or the black oil,
right.
Stuff like that. I just found that really interesting. It was so creepy. I think, here it is. When it's coming out of their eyes and their mouth, in Venom, I think it is. It's the last appearance of the black oil, where it's so gross. And just that, kind of everything you think aliens are.
Right.
Going back to what we were talking about not being the only intelligent life, in all reality, aliens are probably humanoid, similar to us. But
right.
with this kind of the colonists and things like that, it's just this gross and creepy and everything we don't expect it to be. And so that's what I really...
Yeah, that was that episode Colony, which came out in the second season. You actually get introduced to the alien bounty hunter who can change shapes.
Right.
And that the actor who played that guy was I think started out as a stunt guy for a little while, and did some acting roles. He was in Lionheart with Van Damme. Also played in the movie Joe Dirt. Was the Buffalo Bill type character, all dressed up in drag. So he's had these really weird roles, but he's always remembered for the alien bounty hunter. That Mulder keeps coming across. And see, I love the one too where Colony is great because they try to throw Mulder off by his sister comes back, even though she's a clone.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the one too where he goes trying to find the guy on the submarine in the Arctic and nearly dies, and Scully has to save him, and it's the complete opposite of the normal procedure to resurrect him. They have to keep it down because he got infected with the black oil and stuff. So that's the first time you see what this this base or material is that
right.
is basically alien blood and stuff. I always thought it was kind of interesting with the aliens too that the way to kill them is you had to have a special dagger and you had to hit them in the base of the neck while this acid oozy green stuff comes out. I was because I don't think there's any other story out there where that's how you kill an alien. Nobody ever really dealt with that's how you put an alien down.
Right, it's always just been you kind of blow their head off or whatever.
Right.
It's not really been
whereas, vampires have the mythology, silver bullets, cross, you have to stake in the heart, that kind of thing. That's the first time in pop culture where you actually had something about how to kill aliens. And now there's stories where people talk about, the base of the neck, and it all comes from the X-Files.
Right. I think it's had so much more of an impact now going back and rewatching it, kind of gearing up for this one where I realized we've pulled a lot of, you're saying, there's you pull a lot from it. You go back and you go, oh, that's really similar to this or whatever. So it's been a great, definitely affected a lot more than they probably ever realized it would.
Well, in dealing with the alien mythology, again, I mean, this show really did kind of stay on for too long with the ninth season. And while the ninth season had some great episodes, especially it was very heartbreaking with Scully giving their son up for adoption and trying to save him and stuff. But it was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. And and I did like it when Mulder actually gets abducted and he was gone, and you have John Doggett, who is even more of a skeptic and like a straight by the book police officer more than Scully is. And they have to learn how to work together. I loved Doggett, man. He was a great character. And then his kind of quasi partner is the one who's like psychic, which was even more interesting. But this just the way that it came about with the mythology, and then the last episode where it's the whole thing about the X-Files being on trial, and they're one way or another they're trying to kill Mulder and then trying to silence him, and then everybody else realizes the truth and helps him escape and shit like that. Kirsch isn't such the dickhead that he is. He actually comes and rescues everything. But one of the things I think is making the X-Files coming back so great is the idea of what if they were all wrong? What if everything and all the research, everything they have learned, and they got it wrong, or that there is a new mythology behind it, in this world where everything is being tracked and you've got drones and stuff like that. That there are still more truths in this post Snowden universe, and we were talking about it last night at the pub, where more and more things are getting leaked.
Yeah.
I think it's the perfect time for the X-Files to come back, to have these characters, come back as we have all this experience. The FBI needs somebody like us to explore it and stuff like that. Now, the only thing that I'm truly going to miss are the lone gunmen. You got to talk about the lone gunmen. Oh my God, those guys were hilarious. The ultimate conspiracy theorist. So. And
the valve that brought Richard Belzer as Munch onto the X-Files.
I just watched that episode yesterday.
I mean, that character has been on more TV shows than any other character in history, and on multiple networks. That's impressive.
Well, and that episode has such a great title, The Usual Suspects.
Oh, yeah.
That the way the lone gunmen come together, is absolutely brilliant. And Fox Mulder is this young, naive FBI agent. I love the very end where he, after he's been doused with some chemical and everything is hazy, he comes to find him as like, everything's not clear. I just want to know what happened. And Byers, okay, there's dark forces within the government. You hear Mulder, what? Oh, man. A little interesting fact, the guy that played Frohickey was a second unit director and camera guy on the X-Files. And they needed an extra body to fill like this little core group that gets introduced in the first season. So they basically brought him. Like, it was literally one of these things like, hey, you, come in and stand in and be in this scene. And thus, he became a lone gunman. So, one of the things that we do know about the new series is, while they are dealing with a new mythology, after 6 episodes, the first and the last episode are only dealing with the mythology. The 4 middle episodes are actually a Monster of the Week episode. So we have to kind of talk about the great Monster of the Week episodes and how brilliant they really were. Because that's really kind of what made the X-Files and made watching 20 episodes every year so enjoyable. So, Whitney, do you have an absolute favorite Monster of the Week episode?
A favorite?
I know, it's so hard to pick.
Right. Probably, I think it's in the first season, and they find themselves, like, they're in the cabin, and they're all all these men were killed by bugs that attack when the sun sets.
Right. I
like,
think what's the episode called? I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, it's like fluorescent, like lightning bugs or something.
Yes.
Right.
Darkness Falls, I think.
Yes.
Yes, Darkness Falls. Yeah, it was first season. It's kind of like, it goes back to, like, being afraid of the dark and being, like, feeling like you're trapped, you don't know where you're going, and it's like, it's like those fears that bring you back to being a kid. Like, who didn't, for at one point, was scared of, like, being afraid of the dark and being stuck somewhere. So I think that's why I enjoy it. And, you think little lightning bugs, like, oh, they're so cute, we're going to catch them, and then, no, don't
right.
do that. Like,
and they put you in a
terrifying.
cocoon. And it's like
Right.
this race from the cabin down to civilization and stuff like that. And they had another great episode, kind of like, not similar in dealing with the dark, but the one where they go to the Arctic, and that was in the first season. It had Felicity Huffman in it and Alexander Bentley in it, and it's like these worms that sort of attach to people and get inside them and control and make them have fits of rage. So you get this. It's like the X-Files take on the movie The Thing, but instead of it being this big giant alien that embeds, it's this little tapeworm that makes you go crazy. It's kind of a weird. So, Brendan, how about you? What was your favorite monster of the week?
I like the chameleon people.
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, I just think that's a really cool. They're creepy as hell if you can't ever see them. Know they're there. The other one was really good.
You are referring to the episode that they're out in the forest or whatever?
Yeah, they're in the Everglades.
Right, out in Florida. Okay.
Yeah, Detour, season 5, episode 4.
Right.
That one, and then Luther Lee Boggs is a good one too, just because anytime you get Grandma Wormtongue as a bad guy, Brad Dourif,
right.
He's plays an awesome scumball / sleaze villain. So I mean, he's perpetually cast as either a sleaze or a villain or both. So
right.
It's like there was one time he actually played a good guy, and it was on Babylon 5, and it turned out that he was actually a bad guy who had his mind wiped and given a new personality of a good guy. So even when he was a good guy, he wasn't a good guy.
Actually, I think the only time he's ever played a good guy was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, where he was the young, really inadequate, socially inadequate young guy that Jack Nicholson's character helps get laid in the mental hospital.
Yeah.
That's a good guy right there. Like I said, Toombs is always one of my favorites, just because that guy is just so ridiculously, creepy. I love the one. I think it's actually in season 6, where Mulder actually gets the poster back, and it's about the like the dog-like monster. And it's dealing with the woman who takes a liking to Mulder, but she's basically a werewolf of sorts, But before she dies and fights the scientists at the end and everything, she mails the "I Want to Believe" poster that she has hanging in her office to Mulder. So he gets the second one. I always thought that was kind of cool. But the other one. I don't know if it's really a monster of the week. It was just a funny 2-part episode that kind of brought some silliness to it and dealt with weird science. But it's the one with Michael McKean in season 6, Dreamland Part 1 and 2, where him and Michael McKean switch bodies with that temporal thing coming through. And Michael McKean is like, "I've got the perfect life." And redoes Mulder's apartment and hits on every woman, and the best scene is really when he meets the lone gunman and starts laughing at their paper, and he's like, I can't believe you guys actually believe this. You know how many things I've made up? Saddam Hussein, he was a guy doing dinner theater in Oklahoma. You know, he rattles his sword a little bit when we need a distraction. And it's all about trying to figure out how to, you know, get them back into their bodies and all that. But Mulder is trying to get secrets from Area 51. But, oh, my God, the comedy of that episode of them, it was just absolutely brilliant. The other one that I like, and again, this comes from season 6, and Vince Gilligan, who, you know, did Breaking Bad, was a writer for the X-Files. I don't know if a lot of people, you know, realize that's how he got his start. But he does this great episode called Drive, and this is where he met Bryan Cranston for the first time, because Bryan Cranston plays this redneck racist guy who is racing across, you know, the countryside, trying to drive fast because of radio frequencies like in his ear that if you drive faster it helps lower them and you don't get a headache. But you have to keep, it's like speed with radio frequencies in your brain. You have to drive at a certain speed or your head explodes. And he kidnaps Mulder on this cross-country chase, you know. And that was another, you know, a great one at the same time. And it wasn't really about them investigating an X-File. They were investigating, like, suburban terrorism or something and came across this and ignored, you know, orders from Kirsch or whatever. But yeah, Bryan Cranston. Now, I'm surprised that neither one of you have actually mentioned the great episode with Peter Boyle. Did you guys forget that one?
Oh, there was a lot of episodes, dude. And it's probably been 10 years since I watched them.
Clive Buckman's Final Repose, where Peter Boyle plays the psychic that helps them, you know, try to catch a serial killer.
Although Peter Boyle as a psychic, I probably should go watch this again. Because right now I'm just thinking of the boss from Johnny Dangerously as a psychic.
Yeah. Well, it that actually got rated as the best Monster of the Week show by a couple of other news outlets. I don't know if it's the best because it's not. It's certainly one of the most comical, but I think some of the creepier ones are really, you know, are really the best. So, so what? I'll start with you, Whitney. What do you expect from the new series? And a sub question: do you want to see the X-Files come back for more seasons, but not like 22 episodes per season?
I expect to. I'm interested because, you know, as we know, the X-Files, according to the FBI, is still closed. It's no longer, you know, around. So I'm, you know, even, you know, going back to the 2008 movie, I think it is. So I'm interested to see, like, you know, basically kind of where we're going and what we're going to do. And I've read recently that William, the son, he's supposed to be about 15, he's going to have a prominent role on the show. So I'm curious to see what if they're starting kind of this next generation of things. Now, I would pray that we don't try to go into some kind of MTV generation of kind of teenagers exploring this. That would be my fear. But would I want to see like a full? You're asking if I would want to see a full 22 episode season or not see a 22 episode season?
Well, I mean, let me rephrase the question. I mean, I think I don't think you need 22 episodes in a series anymore.
I don't either.
But I mean, do you want to see the X-Files come back beyond like 6 episodes? I mean, it's like a little small taste of getting the X-Files back. But do you think that this series could come back, you know, for more seasons, even if it's just like a mid-season type thing?
No. I really want them to do these 6 episodes great. And then if they did maybe another feature, I'd be totally good. But I feel like we would get into almost jump the shark territory.
Right.
Before we, but so I think this like mini series is going to be great. My hope is, and maybe it's amazing, and I'll bite my tongue and And, at the end of it, I'll be saying, well, actually, let's maybe do a couple more of these. But right now, I think just this miniseries would be, hopefully, let's just not have too many jump the shark moments and see what that does.
What about you, Brendan?
Excuse me.
Well, I would hope that it's going to be very, very good. And if it is very, very good, then I would say yes, I would like to see more of them because I actually don't like the X-Files in movies. I really don't like them in feature. I think it lends itself to episodic storytelling much better than a feature film. And I love going to the movies. I love the whole aspect of it, but certain things do well in the movies and certain things don't. And I think X-Files is much better suited for TV. I do really like the idea of having it a much more condensed season and doing, no more than 10 episodes. And yeah, it shouldn't be around for another 10 seasons, but if they want to do 3 or 4 or 5, and especially I think 5 is the sweet spot for a show. I think you have one season to set up the world as it is, because it's changed. It's not the same X-Files we're going back to. I mean, the conspiracy is a little bit different this time from what I've read. So then you've got one season, or really, you've got a prologue season. You've got the first chapter, the middle chapter, the end, and then you've almost kind of got a aftermath season, and that's 5 seasons. And I don't think it should do any more than that ever. But if it's really good and they've got a story that they can run with, then yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing another 5 seasons like I said, but at no more than 10 episodes. I wouldn't even mind if it was 5 seasons of 6 episodes, and this is our mid-season fill-in for the next 6 years. Instead of making the mid-season fill-in horrible reruns, we're going to make it an event, and you're going to have X-Files for the next 5 years as our mid-season fill-in. That'd be amazing. Because it would give us something good to watch. So,
I think, if you want to set it up as a passing of the torch for the X-Files to somebody else, I think that's great. They're both middle-aged, the actors included and stuff. It's one of those where it is kind of time, for them to kind of, step aside. But you do have to deal with a very different world, and there are more stories to tell. And, there are things that you want to know. I mean, what really did happen? Why is the smoking man still alive? And what happened to their son? And because that was a great storyline, and a very tragic storyline where they have to give him up, So, but yeah, I'm with you. Keep doing more X-Files if we can. So, and I will say this one final thing. One of the great all-time things about the X-Files, and this is something for another time that people, should look up and, tweet about, but of all the people that ended up in X-Files episodes, like Peter Boyle and everything, but one of my all-time favorites is one with Giovanni Ribisi and Jack Black together, where Giovanni Ribisi's character does lightning through his hands. And the episode opens up with Jack Black's character and him, in an arcade, and they're playing Virtual Fighter on an actual arcade. little nostalgia there. But Jack Black was in an X-Files episode, so there you go. Anyway, real quick, do you have a beer to recommend to our audience, Brendan?
Yeah, I would say this week, we'll do a little local Texas flavor. There's Three Nations Brewing here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They did a really good job of going back to the basics of brewing. Everybody wants to do all these crazy things nowadays, where, they've got all these different ingredients and whatnot. But Three Nations is really about the roots of beer and about how good beer should be made, and they have a English brown, which is fantastic. So if you get a chance, grab one of those. All
right. Well, there you go. Okay, everybody. As I said earlier in the show, we will be back next week with our tribute to Alan Rickman, talking about all of his movies and looking back at the things that you may not have realized he was in. We have a few weeks worth of shows before we're off due to, being at a convention and stuff. And we will be talking a lot more about Star Trek all throughout the year since it is the 50th anniversary. So if you're looking for something to binge watch, Star Trek is always a good thing to get in to start binge watching. It's fun to go back and watch. Yeah. They have all the series on Netflix. So
and most of the movies. So.
Yes, they do. Anyway, we are out of here for this week, and in about 2 short hours, we get to see the premiere of the new X-Files series, and we get to discover that the truth is still out there, and that's a good thing. Say goodbye, everybody.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
I don't even know how to top that one, so good night.
Good night, nerds.